tuning into Roll Call. The movie you selected is Aladdin, starring Will Smith.
Hey everyone, welcome to Roll Call, the show where two childless millennials gush over movies and follow an actor's journey from their early years throughout their blockbuster hits.
Because, let's face it, wouldn't you want to fly on a magic carpet to Blockbuster?
You ain't never had a friend like Blockbuster, let me tell you that.
Alright.
R.I.P.
I just listened to some of, was it Collateral Beauty? And we had like a moment of silence for So, yes. What's up, everybody? I'm Bria, and I snuck in little bottles of Sutter's Holmes wine into this movie with somebody. Who was it?
I don't know. Oh, it was me! Yes, let's be real. I'm Simone, and I'm honestly more excited just to relive the memory of Bria and I going to see this in the theater. And when this came out in 2019, also that theater is officially closing down. That was our local mom and pop theater. Crow Canyon, you legend, you just couldn't keep up with the new downtown movie theater. Such a shame.
I just think movie theaters, it's such an unfortunate model of business because, how they get paid is robbery pretty much.
Yeah.
But, they just need to hipsterify themselves. Bowling has, cornhole. People do ridiculous, dumb things in the name of nostalgia. It's just, you just have to rebrand, right? So, I know that, too, the movie theaters with, the comfy chairs are, A1.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I just feel like there's a way to make movies, more cooler.
Oh, yeah. And decades and trends, recycle all the time, right? So right now, the 1980s are really on trend because of Stranger Things, and that lots of younger generations, they want to go to roller rinks and shopping malls, but all those things are kind of closing. Even our local malls are, not looking great.
They want culture back? Hell, I would go to, I love record stores, but I would totally go to, CD store pop-up.
Oh, yes. Oh, for sure. If they had a Suncoast or a Sam Goody or a Tower Records pop-up situation, I would love that.
That sounds stupid because those places still exist, but in smaller numbers.
But in smaller numbers. But it would be fun if they had a movie theater that had that classic bright ass outer space carpet, because I love and they could have fun movie props, fake movie props. You could take pictures. It's an experience almost. Yeah. And then I love the idea of the Vine movie theater in downtown Livermore just does older movies, and their seating inside is non-traditional movie theater seating. They have couches and love seats, and the sanitary piece is a little wishy-washy to me now.
It's always been.
It's always been, though, and I think that that's a concept that it can totally work.
Yes, I really enjoyed when I went to see Selena in theaters, and I feel like that might be the way to go. Maybe a half and half, or have one throwback movie a month or something like that, because the allure of seeing a movie on the big screen is there, but the convenience of streaming is out winning that. And so oddly enough, in my brain, I'm something I've already seen before tons of times on my TV, I could see that on the big screen? What? Absolutely. And I think there's a guarantee in that too, because lately it's you go to the movies and is it worth the amount of money you pay to go, do that, versus knowing if I go see them replay Back to the Future on the big screen, I'm gonna fucking enjoy that. And I'm gonna be money well spent.
Yes.
If I go see Amsterdam, questionable. I don't know. A lot of people aren't even going to see that movie, so. Anyways, what a diatribe. What movie are we talking about today? We are talking about Will Smith in an iconic role in the 2019 live-action Disney film Aladdin. So let's take a trip back to May of 2019. In 2019, some basic pop culture news. We have the birth of Prince Archie by
Oh,
Meghan
sweet
Markle
baby.
and Harry, and so we've got a nice little ginger quarter black royal in the mix. And of course, obviously, this is continuing the height of like Meghan Markle hate, especially as she's pregnant and gives birth and all. So I love Meghan Markle. I wish her all the best. And yeah, in 2019, the most liked Instagram photo was an egg, and it surpassed Kylie Jenner's photo. I guess that at the time was more liked, but it was a plot to become the most liked photo. And how iconic! That's just like an egg.
Who posted it?
It's a like troll account that just posts like an egg photo a day, I think. So
Wow.
and the caption I think was just like, let's get this like the most likes. And so, you know, you put a mission behind something and people might show up. So
Okay.
Simone, you'll enjoy this. But in 2019 we got not one but two, and I think we've talked about this kind of before, but we got two Firefest documentaries.
Yes.
And they had us all shooketh. And so shout out to the water boy, because water is important.
I was fully prepared. But what little did we know as audiences is that we were not fully prepared
No.
to
I just see that man's face. Like,
absorb everything. I mean, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too bad he wasn't there at Woodstock 99. Like, maybe he would have made a difference.
Yeah, honestly, Woodstock 99 has been my next favorite like music documentary that just drives me wild because it's just so awful from start to finish.
You just like the chaos.
It's the chaos. It truly is.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, in music news, Ariana Grande dropped her album Thank You Next, which was iconic for many reasons. We get iconic lines about Mac Miller. We get iconic lines about Pete Davidson, who was also dating Kate Beckinsale at this time.
How Pete Davidson?
Right?
I don't get it.
But of course the iconic video that features a lot of 2000s movies. So chef's kiss of a music video. In scandal news, the college admission scandal was everywhere at this time.
Justice.
And, yes. Aunt Becky with the good hair, Lynette from Desperate Housewives, like Felicity Huffman, also Frank, her husband, from Shameless, William H. Macy. So it's just like so many celebrities involved, and just like the white privilege and like the scheme behind this was just like, of course.
Yeah. How many different people they paid off to like write the admissions, to review their transcripts, to add on and forge their transcripts, fake coaches. I mean, it really
fake SAT tests and scores.
Yes, the amount of work that went into it, instead of just realizing, listen, my kid doesn't have what it got, like you got to just settle for like a junior college, man.
And the thing with like Lori Loughlin's daughter, she did a Red Table Talk with Jada. And,
hearing the students' perspective was really interesting.
Yeah, the thing with her is she just wants to be a content creator and influencer. She doesn't even want to go to college. And it's so interesting, like, to think about these celebrity kids. They have so much, like, just on a platter for them. And the things that they choose sometimes is just, really? Like, you don't think you want to try college out for a little bit and then like you have no need to be immediately successful after that. At least have an education, and then you could influence away. Like, but I digress. And in sad news, 90210 heartthrob Luke Perry passed away. R.I.P. to Dylan and that slit eyebrow in his black convertible Porsche. What an icon. Teen dramas would never be the same.
Truly.
In Black news, I'm just to talk about music because I feel like that shapes the culture. We're making waves. Okay, Lil Nas X took us country. Lizzo and Khalid were bringing back like true black pop music. Cardi B and Bruno Mars, of course, were throwing us back to the 90s with the song Please Me. The Kids were in sicko mode with Travis Scott. And LMA was fighting for her song Trip because Jacquees loves to cover a song, and he covered that song and it damn near became his. So that was a interesting journey. And then briefly, I just want to talk about a little Disney news. 2019 was a big year for the mouse. They had roughly 38% of all domestic movie going was solidly by them. They had the year's top 5 films, and they played a hand in the 6th, which was Sony's Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right.
And then Disney banked about $13 billion in worldwide box office 2019.
Hot damn. And one of those top 5 movies is the one we're talking about today, right?
Think so, yes.
Yeah.
So some of these movies also recorded a record of $1 billion in releases. So you have Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, which marked the 7th of such a $1 billion movie. The others were Avengers Endgame, the highest grossing release ever. Something just passed it, didn't it? I think Top Gun.
Really?
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick is past it or is trying to pass it. It's very close.
It did. I mean, Top Gun did really, really well.
I really liked it. As much as like Tom Cruise is like, Scientology. It was like the perfect kind of reboot sequel type thing for me. But anyways, so Avengers Endgame, highest grossing. Then we have The Lion King remake, Captain Marvel, Aladdin, and Toy Story 4, which and Frozen 2. But The Lion King, Aladdin, and Toy Story 4 were released like back to back to back.
Yeah,
so,
I remember that.
Just like I saw all of those in theaters. They really had us.
Me too. Yeah.
But
like I remember Aladdin weirdly was like the one I was the most excited for. Well, I guess Lion King too because of Beyonce, but I knew that it was a shot for shot remake of the animated one. And then Toy Story 4, I was like, I'm gonna see this, but I just love how perfectly Toy Story 3 ended. So I already went into 4 feeling a little like, did we need this? No.
I didn't need to be fucked up like that. Pixar, always check the box, fuck me up. Like
that's it.
But yeah, Disney had us buy our little leash backpacks. I'm just thinking about like Disneyland, like
yes, little leash babies.
And after that, we're going to talk about movies that came out in May of 2019 with Aladdin. Some notable movies. I don't think Escape's that notable, but I did watch that, so it does have sequels. How to Train Your Dragon 3 is one of them. The Fire Festival doc. There's Serenity with Matthew McConaughey and I think Anne Hathaway. Late Night with Mindy Kaling and Sin. Then we have the Lego Movie 2. And yeah, I feel like that all rings a bell.
Yeah.
I think
I noted a few, but we also have another, well, our next movie also comes out in 2019, but it's later on in the year. But some other things that I also noted for May was The Hustle, which was...
Yeah, I saw that somewhere else. Why isn't it on this list?
Not sure.
And Detective Pikachu, is that on your list?
No, but Booksmart, Ma, Always Be My Maybe, and Rocket Man were also on there.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I clicked on the wrong link. But yes, those were probably more notable than the movies I listed. So, yeah. I wish I should watch Ma. It's spooky.
It
is.
is.
To see that. I need to go to more movies. I was going to the movies in 2019. Like I said, like, I don't know. It's just like, it's going to come out on Prime. It's going to come out on HBO Max. Okay.
Yeah.
Netflix, Disney
I can
Plus.
pause whenever I need to and take breaks. Yeah.
I can fart if I need to.
You can fart if you need to. You can crop dust your friends behind.
Oh my god. Okay, anyways, I'm gonna hand this over to you in the
All
box
right.
office numbers and House of Lil Raj, Roger Ebert.
All right, getting into the atmosphere. So, like you mentioned, Bria, this was a banger year for Disney movies. The estimated budget for 2019's on live adaptation of Aladdin was $183 million. Opening weekend between the US and Canada was $91.5 million. So almost a billion. And then gross between US and Canada was 355 million, and gross worldwide hit over a billion.
Woo, man.
Easy
It's to be me.
peasy.
Big Willie Weekend's back, baby.
Truly.
So this
So
has to be his highest grossing film, I'm sure.
I think it is.
Disney.
Yeah,
What the
truly.
massive do.
And it was a smart choice for him to do this movie. And I agree, but not everyone agrees
Of
with
course.
this choice, which brings us into our next segment. What does House of Little Raj procure for Aladdin? Would you like to take any guesses?
It's funny because, like I said, I was listening to Collateral Beauty Side Squad today, and I think Collateral Beauty was that really like bitchy review that was just like, this is just really bad.
Yes.
And I was just like, if it's gonna be bad, have some points why it's bad. So anyways, with your lead up that this is bad, or not that great, I'm gonna say I don't think they're gonna give it 1 or 1.5, maybe 2.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. The person who wrote this review is Matt Zoller Seitz. I believe he did After Earth, and he ended up kind of liking After Earth, which was ironic because most people shit on that movie. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. And if you don't know by now, listeners, Aladdin is the story based on the book Arabian Nights, I believe. Let's see, Aladdin 1001 Nights, adapted from ancient history texts and storytelling. Tells the story of a young poor boy named Aladdin who's down on his luck. Gotta live to eat, gotta steal to eat. Tell you all about it when I got the time key change. And falls in love with with the princess Jasmine, stumbles across a magical lamp where the genie will be able to grant him 3 wishes with some stipulations, uses one of his wishes to wish himself into being a prince to capture the attention of Princess Jasmine. And then we also have the evil Sultan's assistant, Grand Vizier Jafar, who plays the evil villain in this movie. So again, if you don't know this story, you've lived under a fucking rock. That's the basic premise of this movie, okay? We all know how this one ends. It's a very nice, happy ending for all. So Matt Zoller Seitz is very aware that in a self-aware moment from the new live-action Aladdin, a character holds up a sketch of 3 other characters. The sketch is a line drawing done in the style of the hit 1992 animated Aladdin and the basis of the movie you're watching. It's simple, fun, direct, more concerned with being delightful than looking real. So his main critiques of this movie are actually not so much about acting as it is about writing. So it was written by John August, who wrote the movie Big Fish, which is an extremely underrated Tim Burton film, in my opinion. And then it was rewritten by Guy Ritchie, the person who directed it, with, of course, the classic songs by my boy Alan Menken and the late Howard Ashman, plus a couple of original tunes, which was kind of intended to qualify them for best original songs in the Oscars of this year. But he said, despite all of the CGI, that this Aladdin is still funny, sentimental, and an inspirational story of a poor street rat who comes into possession of a magic lamp, a magic carpet, and summons a big blue genie and embarks on a scheme to win the heart of a princess and stop an evil vizier from stealing the kingdom away from the heroine's dad. He does point out that there are at least 2 potentially good and somewhat original takes from this movie that separate themselves from the animated classic. And how one story is about how the genie bonds with Aladdin and tries to secure his own freedom without breaking away or breaking any genie or master rules. And the second is about the princess, who is not merely a spirited feminist, but who also enjoys disguising herself as a peasant and hanging with the commoners. He really kind of again says, but going into Will Smith, he says Will Smith is the only big star in this cast, so it was probably inevitable that he'd be awarded the framing device, meaning that not only is he Genie, but he's kind of set the mariner at the beginning of the story, who's eventually going to set the stage and tell the story of Aladdin. When he isn't being asked to reenact most of the really good lines, jokes, and situations from the 1992 version, which is probably about 70% of his screen time, he puts his own stamp on the role. However, the opportunities are scarce. So when Smith does depart from the sacred text, meaning the 1992 movie, mainly during emotional moments and dialogue-dependent comedy scenes where Richie gets to show off his knack for smart alecky banter, the moments don't really accumulate into a distinctive performance. They just kind of hang there, feeling disconnected for the movie's reason of existing. So again, he's like, it's not really Will Smith that's the problem here. It more so has to do with the writing. And he kind of points out some good bullshit, which I really appreciate. He says Smith's co-stars run into the same problem. Masood, who plays Aladdin, has a deadpan comic energy that shines whenever he's not required to simply reenact his animated counterpart's iconic moments. And ditto to Naomi Scott as Princess Jasmine, who has a fierce dignity and can't help it that her big original number, Speechless, a song about the silencing of women by the patriarchy, was written by two men, feels wedged into the movie kind of like a doorstop. The motivation for the song, though, is much more organic and might have felt sincere and powerful rather than opportunistic had the movie built it in better. So overall, from the opening of Arabian Nights to the number A Friend Like Me, A Whole New World and Beyond, most of the major sequences are the same, although there are some new fresh twists scattered throughout, particularly during the last half hour. The filmmaking is disappointingly pedestrian. I don't really know how that equates to like film critic dialogue, but lawn tracking shots stitched together with CGI, chase scenes with CGI, monkeys and camels, all CGI, and Will Smith as the genie with a broad segment CGI torso, that it's quite possibly that nobody seeing this film will feel anything has really gone missing besides that it switched from live action to animation. And here's where I kind of disagree with that review a little bit. So that is the overall view written by this person for Aladdin. But Bria, how many pumps of butter would you give this movie?
I would give Aladdin 3.5.
Nice.
And I'm kind of surprised because I was like, I didn't remember, like, I remember we had fun, and part of that was the Sutter homes and nostalgia. But, you know, I didn't really remember, like, you know, what was so, like, different or, like, you know, radical about this besides DJ Khaled. So I was pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed it again. It was just really long to me this time.
2 hours and 8 minutes. It's long.
Yeah, I remember seeing it was like an hour and 30 something, and I was just like, how much? And I was like, this movie is 2 hours long. Like, so it makes me want to watch the animated one, but yeah, we'll talk about more about our opinions. But what's your pump it up?
I would give this movie overall 3 pumps of butter. Liked it. I think to its date, it was my favorite live action or retelling of a story or movie that already existed. And then came Mulan, and I ended up liking Mulan a little bit better.
Still need.
And I remember being nervous kind of for this movie to come out, particularly about Will Smith in general. And I remember talking about that with you either when we were like waiting for the movie to start or like going over there about, you know, kind of going into what we were saying with our Suicide Squad episode about the iconic character of the Joker. Similarly, we feel the same way about Genie, and Robin Williams was such an inspirational presence to us kids growing up watching all of his movies and hearing his voice. Like he was Genie, Genie is Robin Williams. And so I feel like I went into it feeling really apprehensive, but ended up leaving feeling very pleasantly surprised and delighted by that role. And now watching it for a second time after some of these really heavy hitters like Concussion, Collateral Beauty, 7 pounds, that it's nice to just see Will Smith be a blue Will Smith, essentially. So there were a couple of like issues that I had just overall with the movie, but actually it's really not so much Will Smith. So I think an enjoyable movie, and look forward to kind of talking a little bit more about some of the actors that were in it and overall some of our other thoughts.
Okay, so let's talk about the trailer because we did both see this in theaters. I feel like, I mean, I remember the trailer, but I was there really for the 90s kid of it all, and like, let me see what they did to Aladdin, like, you know, and let me see like Will Smith as Genie and stuff. So I think that's one reason, obviously, that so many remakes are happening. There's a built-in audience that automatically is gonna see it, either hate on it or because like they just love that shit. So I was right there in that crowd of like, I love Aladdin, I love Disney, and I'm either gonna hate it or love it. So like, let's see what's gonna happen. But rewatching the trailer, there's a couple. There's one kind of really actiony one that has like this like action music, and I was just like, this is not a
it's the one that goes like doom 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 doom, doom like right, like where the running and the sword fighting like syncs up with the.
Yeah, no.
Kills me.
Didn't do it for me. And then there's one that kind of focuses, obviously, on the love story. And so...
Well, then you can tell which trailer is tailored for the boys and which one's for the girls.
You're right. I didn't even think about that. Yes. Wow.
Because honestly, Aladdin was deemed as a boys' movie since it has that male protagonist, even though, but then the love, like, the little girls that I knew growing up watching this movie, and I hate to be gender stereotype here, but like we're in it for the love story. Cute. This singing, oh fuck yeah, that cartoon was foxy as hell.
And that's like kind of all I kind of thought about sometimes was just like Minna Masood is also very handsome.
He is,
but like handsome. You can do things with cartoons that you can't with humans. And so
someone animated those nipples, man. Someone did.
But like Aladdin's like smile and his hair like is a big part of that. They also made a choice to not have Minna Masood shirtless in this one, which I thought like I didn't really think too much about, but like it's still like, was that a good choice? Because they're like, oh, you know, we want it to appeal to families and stuff. And it's like, a little shirtlessness never hurt nobody. Like,
well, Will Smith was shirtless, pretty much.
Yeah, like, look at this guy. Fake pecs and all.
Fuck.
Like,
yeah,
so... but yeah, I didn't realize the trailers were kind of like gender oriented.
It is terrible.
What do you think of the trailer, rewatching it?
I remember when I first saw the trailer, this is when Galaxy's Edge, like sneak peeks of Batuu were being released. And so to me, I thought Agrabah looked like the blueprints for Batuu, and I was like, come on, let's be a little bit more creative here with our world building. But then once they had the close-up practical shots of the sets, I was like, okay, I'm in it. And that's something that I ended up really liking about the movie. So I think the trailer, like I said, even for people that didn't see the cartoon of Aladdin, I think still kind of know how the story generally works. So you didn't have to really worry about giving too much away.
Yeah. I want to meet somebody who hasn't seen Aladdin because I'm having a hard time believing that such a person exists
Mm-hmm.
who watches movie stuff. Of course, there's people who absolutely don't care about excluding those folks, but
Sure.
someone who watches movies and TV,
Mm-hmm.
how have you not? Moving on, let's talk about the cast
Yep.
outside of Will. Our Aladdin is Minna Masood, like I said. And I remember like on Tumblr, like this like the fan castings for Aladdin, and a lot of the times it was Georgia. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that, but he has amazing long hair and it's like in the vein of like Zayn Malik, like type of like Middle
Very Zayn
Eastern
Malik.
East beautiful man. And
Yes.
so like seeing that they didn't go that way, like necessarily in terms of like that guy or like long haired and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
was interesting. But like I said, Minna is very attractive, very good looking. And I think too, I feel like they picked him because he still has like a very boyish quality to him.
Yes.
And so I feel like I noticed that a lot rewatching it, that he has like that kind of youthful exuberance to still. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and he is Egyptian, so I think that that's something that's kind of neat about this cast is that it did seem pretty culturally appropriate to the fictional place of Agrabah, but some place that would be set somewhere along the Arabian Peninsula, I think is great. It's funny because Mena Massoud has a really lovely set of hair, and he does a lot of things different with it. But that damn wig that they put him in was like so stiff and motionless. And I think that again, going back to the cartoon, like that hair had movement. It
Yes,
and so I was a little like bummed that he couldn't just wear his hair natural.
that's what
Maybe
I'm
I
saying.
I thought maybe it was because if they had the music, like a music piece in their ear, if they were like listening for the singing parts of it, but you can CGI that out.
Yeah, I don't know what the reason would have been, but that would have been another way to kind of, in a way, try to differentiate themselves from to have like, because his hair is curly. So
Mm-hmm.
to have him have like curly short hair instead of
Mm-hmm.
like 90s like bread hair, essentially. Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
Aladdin is like a 90s bread hair
Mm-hmm.
animation babe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, and two, the reason why I talked about him not being shirtless too is because he works out a lot and he is in good shape. So it wasn't like not a possibility. So
Yeah.
that is just like the almost 30-year-old in me, like, come on, little eye candy. Like,
Come on. Give me some sugar.
um, Jasmine, we have Naomi Scott.
Yes.
What did you think about
So
Naomi Scott?
Naomi Scott is a Disney Channel. Okay, Lemonade Mouth. Was that Nick or Disney?
I feel like that
Okay, so
Disney wouldn't name something like that.
I think you're right. No, hold on. I'm going to fact check that
It
really.
is Disney. Oh
Okay,
my
it
God.
was a Disney Channel original film. And they're singing in it, and she's saying, but I think that that Disney acting kind of carried
Mm-hmm.
over into this movie, where again, like when we've talked about this before, when you're a kid and you're working on Disney and everything's so over the top and but you're also kind of doing a movie that can also fit into like a Broadway production play. Like there were some moments that really reminded me of the live Aladdin show that used to be in California Adventure before it was replaced. Ah,
With
R.I.P.
Frozen.
Yes.
I don't get
So
why they couldn't have that. Keep. And they took away Aladdin's fucking Dole Whip.
I
Like,
know. Imagine, honestly, they lost out on, I think, a really good business opportunity by reopening it and just doing the live shows again and having it be like a sit down, like 3-course meal and it's by reservation. That's how I went to that show the first time I went to Disney in 95. And it was bloody fantastic.
I never got to see.
They had for dessert, they gave you a big old like solid chocolate lamp that had some kind of like raspberry sauce in the middle. And so there are some great pictures of me with just like Just like doo-doo mouth everywhere, chocolate. And then at some point at the end of the show, they like pull kids up on stage to kind of just like shoo Jafar away. And I was like, can you imagine they have to pick like the cleanest hands for the kids to go up there because they'd be wanting to like with their doo-doo fingers.
Find a kid that's allergic to chocolate.
Oh, so sorry. Anyways, I digress. Naomi Scott, a former Disney girl. I thought this was a kind of a good like re-breakout role for her. I think most kids that saw this movie recognized her from that role. I think she has a pretty decent singing voice. And I really enjoyed the rewriting of the ending for Jasmine and her like determination. I think she really showed that she was wanting to be this woman that was accepted, or wanting to be accepted in a male role, and wanted to be taken seriously. But I was missing some of the sass of the original Jasmine.
Yes, I was just gonna say that as soon as you finished. Yeah, because Jasmine was not playing no game. She definitely wore the pants in her and Aladdin's relationship, as she should. She's the royalty. But yeah, like I felt like she could have like the whole song with like what is it called? The not being
Speechless.
Okay, close. Not being silent. It's about not being silent. But the whole thing with Speechless and her wanting to be Sultan and run and take over her is it a country?
Yeah, province, city, state. Yeah.
Her wanting to lead her people and do right by them, I feel like is nothing but bad bitchery. And like, no offense to Naomi, like I didn't get that chutzpah from her of that. So I do wish that was like more present in her. But other than that, like she was good. Like, what do you think of her chemistry with men?
I feel like it took her a lot longer to warm up to him, and build that trust. But I think their kiss that they had at the end of A Whole New World was pretty believable.
Yeah. I don't know. The animated movie, for being like fake people in animated, like there was definitely like sexual tension. Aladdin's this like bad boy type, you know, and obviously she's a princess. So to me, there was just like an immediate, like, just like kind of energy. And with this, I feel like you said, it took her a while to trust him. I do think she seemed intrigued by him, but it could have been friendly too, in my mind. Like, it wasn't immediately like romantic. It was more like, oh, wow, I'm not used to Prince. I don't get out and like this, like jumping around town and hopping roof stuff. Like, this is cool. But I kind of wish there was more like tension in the ball in me. I'm so they should have fucked. No, I'm kidding. This is a kids movie, but there should, in my adult mind, there should be allusion to such things.
Well, yeah, and if she's trying to play a more like modernized woman and stuff, for her to feel like she can be a little bit more open and free to do that. But I think the part at the end when after she becomes Sultan and like changes the law and she like goes out to find Aladdin on the street and she like kisses him in front of everyone, I was like, okay, that's pretty good. But the townspeople must have been shooketh because this is the first time that they actually like saw the princess in real life, and then she's like, now she's going around kissing everybody, a poor person. I'm next in line. Like, I feel like in those times people would have gotten the wrong idea, but still, I liked
That's
a
good
that part.
point. Yeah, that end part, like, that had all the things we were just kind of, like, whining about a little bit, like, and I just wish that was, like, more throughout, you know, because I don't feel like Jasmine is a princess that needed, like, to experience something in a character built, like, you know, I feel like she was already, like, out the gate, like, strong and strong-minded and independent in some ways.
Yes.
Stuff, so.
And
she has a tiger as a pet. Like,
she has Raja, man. Yes.
But yeah. So
I'll
moving
tell you who was
on.
disappointing was Jafar. And Marwan Kenzari plays Jafar. And I think, again, I just am I fully admit that I am jaded because Jafar is one of my favorite animated villains. He's my icon on my little Disney
He
Plus.
is. I did notice
I just
that.
think he was such a sexual deviant. Like if he had a record, he would be like the town's pervert. Like there was just something like Frollo kind of vibes from Hunchback of Notre Dame. There was just something very like pervertedly weird about him that I just like it worked really well.
I
And
never
your
got that
beard
reference.
is so twisted. Like
Yeah.
anyways, so this character definitely the way that this actor Marwan Kenzari played him, who's a Dutch actor, which I thought was really interesting. I think that accent kind of comes through. Plays Jafar as like really deadpan, like really serious and not as I like
Animated.
oh my gosh. Definitely power hungry and, bad evil villains, but it just felt a little like lifeless behind the eyes for me. But then I was like, well, that can kind of work for a villain because you have these real life textbook sociopaths that are like so emotionless that are like, I don't care at
Yeah.
all, that have no emotion in them. So I feel like it can go either way, but it was a very like 180 turn from the animated version.
Yeah. And I feel like like how Will's Genie is still like very much the essence of like that funny, like big over the top like personality. I feel like Jafar still could have should have been that way even though he's not animated.
Hmm.
But one thing about Marwan is that he is a zaddy. So I remember
He's
like
hot.
everyone being like, "Ooh, Daddy Jafar!" like, very good looking man. So the whole time I was just definitely like unhappy with like him being like so ruthless and so like just like lying up the wazoo just to get what he wants.
Hmm.
But just like man cute.
Yeah, I know.
So I kind of too I wonder what the choice was, like, not to shame anybody, but what the choice was to go with such a good looking actor versus someone with a little more character
I
to
was
their.
just about to say it's hard to hate your villain when he's hot. And,
Yeah.
or I guess hard to believe that your villain is a bad person when you're like, oh, but he's like kind of good looking, you know what I mean? Like, really, Jasmine, is it the worst thing that you end up? Just kidding.
Yeah.
But
I'm
like
trying to
someone that
think of a
has
good
more of
looking
like,
villain.
but I know what you mean. Someone that has that like
Jack
Steve
Nicholson brow.
Buscemi, yeah,
Yeah.
that like very distinctive look.
Yeah. If okay, think about this in the back of your head. We
Okay.
need to recast Jafar with such try to who.
Mm.
I don't know if you can.
No, okay, give me time to think about it
Yes.
because I also want to be like, yeah, I want to be
Yes.
inclusive to like where the story takes place. So I want the casting to be correct. So let me think about it.
All right, moving on, we have the Sultan played by Naveed Negaban and great dad. Great dad.
Great Dad, very different Sultan from the original. Again, I'm sorry I keep on saying this, but I kind of liked that because the Sultan in the cartoon was very like
Like
naive and
bumblebees.
fun and bumbly, like completely ignorant to what was happening to Jafar. And this Sultan just wanted what was best for his daughter and his people, wanted to avoid war, and and had this lovely like moment at the end with Jasmine about like he could have easily rewritten the law and so that she could marry him, which is how the cartoon ends. He goes, "Oh, dash it all to laws. Laws can be changed." And then Jasmine still stays a princess and whatever, but in this case he's just like, "You would make a better sultan, and you deserve that title so that you can write your own laws." I thought that was very lovely.
Yeah, so no complaints for me in this casting. Next one I'm a little iffy on. We have Nassim Pedrad as
Hmm.
Dahlia, and the whole movie I was just like first off, I forgot her and Genie will like
Mm-hmm.
got together. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
hold on, what? And so that kind of bugged me. And then the whole movie, I was just like, I know her from somewhere. It's in Leo. Like, and I didn't look it up. And then finally, like researching and stuff, I was looking through the trivia facts on IMDb, and it was like, oh, Nassim Pedrad has actually portrayed Jasmine before, and I was like, oh, like what, Broadway? Fucking SNL.
SNL.
And I was like, oh, that's where she's from. And I feel like that's what bugged me because I felt this air of like underlying like funniness with her. Like
Mm-hmm.
she just looked like she like was snarky and like wanted, and she is supposed to be like kind of funny, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It just maybe just me trying in my mind like, but and
Yes.
Dahlia's a new character.
She is a new character, so there's no comparison there. I didn't really like how desperate she was, but the way that the lines were delivered were still pretty funny. Like, yes, all that sounds great, and I want children. Like when they get together at the end. But it's clear that she played someone who grew up in the palace as a handsmaid and never got to experience a life. So she's probably like, hell yeah, this hot guy wants to take me out and travel around the world. Like, let's go. So I enjoyed that.
Well, too, I feel like service people, I don't know for sure. I've thought about this too with like Queen Elizabeth dying, but like I felt like they used to be like life. Well, maybe back in the day, maybe in this sure like lifelong servant. So it
Mm-hmm.
kind of perplexed me that she was able to like, deuces, I'm riding off with my dude. Like, and I mean, it was great that they were supportive of her, but that I don't know. I was just like, did we need a double Rome story? Like,
Hmm.
what if Genie fell in love with another Genie? And it
Aw,
would have been
yeah.
cool. Anybody else that
The actor that played, I mean, such a small role, but Billy Magnussen, who played Prince Anders, I feel like he was plucked right out of a fairy tale parody, similar to like someone that you might have seen in like Frozen or in Brave, like one of the silly suitors that were trying to woo the princess.
yeah.
He was in Into the Woods. He actually played a Rapunzel's prince in that one. He sang. He was pretty good. And he was in a movie Game Night with Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman. He was also in No Time to Die, which was a 007 movie. So, I mean, he's had some pretty good acting credits under his belt, and like, some would say handsome. For me, he's okay, but
Yeah.
he
Also, shout out to Hakeem, played by
yes.
Newman Akar. Saved the day. Pulled through
He
loyalty.
did. He was
That's what
so
that looks
loyal.
like. Yes.
And here are some ideas that I had for Jafar. Tony Shalhoub as a possible Jafar. He's older because this Jafar was young, and
Yeah.
so I think it would be more creepy if he was on a little bit older.
I like
Tony
that.
Shalhoub hasn't really played a villain, not that I know of, so I think it would be kind of
And
interesting.
he's worked with Will.
That's right, 6 degrees. If we're going someone that's younger, I could also see Rami Malek playing Jafar because he just has like
Yes.
really characteristically creepy big eyes. So
Ooh,
there are some alternatives.
Oscar Isaac. I thought
I
he
could
was
see
Middle
Oscar
Eastern, but
Isaac.
he is Latino.
Yeah.
But but yeah,
What?
he's Latino too. I was gonna say Javier Bardem.
He would
Um,
now, he's someone who keeps his accent though. So he's like, it is what it is, and it will be
yeah.
thick. So that would
But
be
like
kind of
I'm
the
just
dead
thinking
giveaway.
like of faces.
For sure. Absolutely.
Gotta get acquainted with more. I'm sure there's like some great Bollywood actors who like play some ball or something.
Mm-hmm.
Mean spirited person. So there could have been answered, but Disney went really, really, really good. And now the man of the hour, Mr. Willard Smith II. What did we think of his portrayal of the iconic Genie?
Based on interviews, and I think I remember like talking about this with you after the movie, that this felt very remnants of Fresh Prince. Will drew a lot of inspiration from his time on the Fresh Prince with the mannerisms, funny ad-libbed lines. And I think that that was kind of also important to that character too. So much of what Robin Williams did for the Genie was ad-libbed and originally was like super R-rated. That Disney kept on being like, dude, this is a kid's movie. You have to make this soup like more friendly.
I wonder when, and I know we're talking about 2019's version, but I wonder when Robin did his portrayal if he did it, because I know some animated movies it's just you record everything and they animate to it kind of.
Yes.
And sometimes they have stuff for you to like talk and see. So I'm curious like how much if he just like they're just like, okay, just this is the scene, have at it. How much stuff he gave, like it has to be ridiculous like footage that they to go through for him.
The archives, can you imagine? I'd love to watch just an unedited, like, go at a recording studio. But it is fun, and I'm glad that things like that still exist, even in live adaptation remakes. Because for a good chunk of it, when Will Smith is Blue Genie, because he does have like a human form, when he's Blue Genie, he's mostly CGI'd. But yeah, I think his role brought on, not to be punny, but like a fresher take of the Genie and definitely made it into his own while still upholding the overall characteristics of who Genie is, which is, loud, a little show-offy, vain, witty, but at the end of the day, someone who just wants to be free and to have that freedom and to not serve anybody.
And friendship, like
yes, absolutely. He goes, genies don't have friends. Genies, don't have lovers or whatever. So, I think similarly to Jasmine, that the Genie also took a little bit longer to kind of buddy up and to trust Aladdin.
Yeah, I feel like because too like Will talks about like initially he's Aladdin in the cave and when he's summoned he's like, okay, like where's your boss, like where's the big evil dude who wants all the power and all that stuff, and he's like, no, it's just me. And so Will talks about in that moment he sees that Aladdin so kind of pure that he doesn't expect like he's the guy who lamp. And so I think a bit of that he does kind of immediately want to help him make the best wishes he can, especially because he doesn't have to, because like with Jafar he's just like, okay, as you wish.
A lot of gray area in that wish. Yeah.
But he doesn't have to tell Aladdin, like, you need to be specific, like, because this can happen. And there were some cool cutscenes of other people he granted wishes to, of, like, mishaps that they had in there, like, not being specific. Like, and I kind of wish that was included, especially in this fucking 2-hour long thing. Like, we could have cut something else. But yeah, like, I think that it didn't take too long for me. I do think it took longer for him to, like, really trust Aladdin once he kind of saw him shifting still. Like, because at that point, I feel like he was a little, like, iffy on him. But, like, I think he's still, like, in his core. He's still a good kid. Like, there's still good and he's not completely gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was, I feel like in the animated version, he's like very willing to, like, he's like immediately kind of buddy like.
Yes, absolutely. And I think he sees that in the protective way that you were just talking about, of like, let me, like, because you're just a kid, let me make sure that you're making the right choices. I will say 41 minutes for the Genie to show up. Obviously, we see Will in the beginning.
Wow.
I timed it because it started to feel long. I was like, oh, there's been a lot of this movie and we still haven't seen, like, Friend Like Me is one of Alan Menken's best songs. It's like one of the biggest songs from the movie. And it's such a fun, uplifting, big musical number that I think that was maybe one of the most highest anticipated songs to happen. So I was just like kind of like anxious and waiting for it to come. Even though I know we saw Will Smith in the beginning as the mariner and he sets the scene and he even sings a little bit in the beginning, and we don't really hear Will Smith sing a lot. We know he can
Yeah,
rap,
I that
and
was
so I
like my first
appreciated
note.
that.
Yeah, I was like, I forgot he sings in this. Like, weird. And it also makes me wonder too, this is the first time since like Men in Black 2 that we get a Will Smith song for a movie, kind
Yes,
of. Um
DJ Khaled.
but part of me like also wondered like why he hasn't done Broadway or a play in general. It doesn't have to be on Broadway,
Hmm.
but why he hasn't done theater yet. He will. But I feel like he would be really good at that, and I feel like his ego would really love like the nightly applause.
Hmm.
It would harken back to the Fresh Prince and the audience,
Hmm.
because they actually had live audiences back then. So that would be a question I would ask him. Like, when are you gonna do like a play? When are you gonna do broad? Like, what or why haven't?
I agree. I think it would be something that he would really excel at, is something that he does not lack, is stage presence. And I think this was a really smart casting choice for Disney to choose Will, because he's so recognizable by adults, but also by kids. Um, I don't know if kids, I mean, they might, let's see, going back, blah, 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 both recognizable by adults and kids, most likely because kids were also going back and watching movies like Independence Day, Men in Black, maybe not Wild Wild West, but some like iconic
Sure.
early roles, because millennials are parents now and they're showing those same movies to the kids. And also has that family values, friendly face, clean music.
Watching
Um,
Enemy of the State like me.
I
I was a kid. That's...
So true. So true. So yeah, I think like it was a really smart choice, because he managed to make the movie and the character his own. Whereas the other main actors felt like they were just kind of recreating what was already there.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like the critics' critique on the writing. Like maybe they should have changed some of the dialogue from the
Mm-hmm.
original to this one just for that and give the actors more to play with in that regard versus being like, well, this is how it's done in animated set or this is how it's set, delivered. I think too a big part for Will for this, going back to Friend Like Me, that was he went to meet with the composers and
Mm-hmm.
like that was the first song they did together and they did that like the first time and he talked about like how he like pulled like these hip hop samples and break that threw him back to like 90s hip hop and
Mm-hmm.
so that's where he got like his inspiration to probably pull from Fresh Prince and all that for his Genie, and that's where he really could see how he could put his spin on it. And I think it's great because a lot of times actors who take on roles that are iconic, like talking about like a Joker from another actor, they usually in interviews, they're like, oh, did you watch like so and so's prior prints or their adaptation? And sometimes some of them are kind of, and I understand because like if you do that, then you'll like, kind of in some osmosis ways still reference their performance and you want to come in with your own. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it feels a little snarky where it's just like, no, I didn't watch anything or I didn't talk to that person. And I think the way Will talks about roles, like he's so careful and methodical and really into like the thought process of stuff. And so I think him taking Genie was so thoughtful of how iconic Robin Williams was, and he didn't like shy away from that in regard.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about like, if I take a role, I want to make sure there's still meat on the bone for me to like do something with it. And I don't know how he found a scrap of meat on that bone, but he found it. And I think that his hip hop part of it, and that's the beauty of diversity, is that if you had like just another white actor play, I don't think it would have been very like, oh, well, it's not Robin Williams or he's just copying what Robin did. And I think Will's culture and his background in hip hop obviously lends a lot of it to his portrayal. And you don't get that if you don't cast
Yeah.
diversely. You know, you don't get him being able to, I mean, maybe you get someone who can kind of rap, but like, you know, he's born and bred in that. And so like, it really just works well. And I think that was really smart of him and them to cast
Yeah.
him.
Oh, for sure. And to me, the parts where it really felt like he was kind of in his own element as the genie was when he was in human form. When he kind of played Aladdin's grand vizier, if you will, or like assistant or right hand man or whatever, when they actually got into Agrabah, and was very I think that's when some of his best like dialogue was given. For me, the part that was a little bit distracting was the blue CGI, this like ambiguous like tornado cloud underneath, and you can really see the like animation of him there. I think appreciated him the most when he was in his human form, his natural skin. He still had the fun like top knot and played around with it, but you know, he's still a very good-looking man, and even though his costumes were a little silly, like he still looked good. And I loved the part at the end when they have the transformation after Aladdin wishes Genie free and his cuffs come off, and then he like goes like returns into this human form. I noted that it was like a reverse Beauty and the Beast transformation. Because when the beast transforms, he's kind of like, just okay as a person. And I wonder for a moment if Belle was like, oh no, what have I done? But
like she wishes it was like Shrek. Like, it's okay. I fell in love with you as a beast. Like, you can stay that way.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
I'll just be a beast. Like,
yeah.
we'll be beasts together.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize that this is like basically a reverse Cinderella because two, that also plays to like the feminist story of Jasmine in that she's marrying not a prince and Aladdin has this glow up. Whereas usually the princess has like this transformation phase. And of course we have all the teen movies that has like the girl changes for the guy kind of thing, and this is kind of the opposite. And this is probably one of the first times as a kid you'll see that, you know, and so I think that's good representation too. But I didn't get the reverse beast. That's a good one. And to talk about like his human moments, like you're right, and I think that's just because it's just like, you know, blue Genie Will is like, okay, that's Will Smith as Genie, and I don't know, him as a human to me is just like, oh yeah, that's Will, like in this movie. And so like the moments where he's like, it's my little cherry on top, or or like even the moment after what's the big Prince Ali
I love that song.
Intro song where he's like, we ain't going to you, like, you know, who else could have done that, like, and so those moments really show like him and his and I really like that. And even his softer towards the end, that same scene where he transforms and he's like, okay, like ask me to do and he's like, oh, like, you know.
I said me when I try to stop people pleasing, where I'm just like, I'm sorry, do it yourself.
We need to make that a meme. Write that down. But yeah, like those moments I feel like hit different, not in CGI form. Two, I feel like when he's Blue Genie, most of the time you're like kind of trying to figure out like how that works. Like, because I was like, is he in a bodysuit? Because like I remember we talked about this too, I think, because we were like, he's not that buff, is he? Like, he's not that big. And he's not. But I thought too, even watching this again, I was like, is that a bodysuit? Like, is that prosthetics they put on him?
I think so.
No, that's all CGI.
Oh, now I wonder if that's because the original Blue Genie is like larger, like definitely more wide and stout, like trim waist, but like
Yeah.
reverse triangle shape, right? Like upside down
Yeah.
triangle shape.
So on IMDb, it says that Guy Ritchie was really, he grew up idolizing kind of
Horny
like
for the genie.
horny for like 70s bodybuilders. And so that was like his
Oh.
inspiration were like these like bodybuilders who didn't use steroids but just were like these masses of muscle, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
who definitely were that V shape. He's like they skipped leg day. They were just like massive on top.
Yes.
And a little bit of the original is like that. So yes, but I thought that was interesting because I was like, huh, that's that you never. I mean, I know there's men, and I've watched bodybuilding like documentaries and stuff on human growth, and so you definitely know there's men who are fans of bodybuilding, strong, and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's interesting that like a director, like someone who creates art and stuff, that was a reference for them. I don't think you see that too much, like besides like
Mm-hmm.
action movies. So I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like that's like a little quirky, like you know, I kind of like really nerdy about bodybuilding when I was a kid. So
Huh.
that was my inspo. Uh, but yeah, he's just like huge and he's blue. And there are times where his face doesn't look like, and we've watched so many Will Smith things at this point, interviews, movies, that like I know his fucking face. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, like I was like, that can't be like actually him. Like, so when I heard when he's like, it's all CGI, I was like, ah, yes, okay, that makes. And then there's some cool behind the scenes stuff that shows a little bit of that process of him being like kind of animated and then made
Mm-hmm.
blue and then made like the lighting and stuff from even. So that's like, that was like, it clicked in my brain. It seems like, oh, it's to me.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think too, it was okay. Talking about all this, what do you think about like his human form differing so much from his genie?
Like what felt the most different to me?
Well, so I'm thinking about it and I'm like, part of like what was tripping me out is that he's so big as like the blue genie. And so when
Yes.
he
They
is
made
a
him giant.
human, he looked more svelte. And so part of me wonders like if they made him wear a bodysuit or something so it matched kind of, even
Mm-hmm.
though I don't know. But then he's a genie, so he chose to physically present that way. So
Can present in any way. I
yeah.
think that's wonderful. Yeah, but I liked that they just kept Will Smith like fairly natural
Yeah.
when he was in human form. And correct me, he was like at a point when they first, wasn't he just in like a vest where you could still see some chest? I'm gonna go back and look that up really
I
quickly.
mean, we've seen Will in various states,
I
and
know.
so I was not impressed by this. Now, Minima Suit, I would have been like, okay, Aladdin, come through,
Okay.
but we got ass out Will in iRobot. We got pull up Will in
Yes.
uh, I Am Legend. So
That's true. And no, I stand corrected. He never showed chest, but his outfit was inspired by Genie on Broadway. So it's like that it's like a really beautiful blue colored suit. It does have a gold band around the waist, so it almost looks like it's a crop top, but it's not. Uh,
I
but he
love
was
a
like,
man in a crop top.
I
Will's
know, I
actually
love the
worn a crop top
confidence.
on Fresh Prince.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. I loved some of that early fashion with like the short men, like muscle tee, crop top, and like some sweatpants or like the MC Hammer pants. That was
Himbos, bring it back.
a great look. And Will Smith did dress in women's fashion for a little part of the Prince Ali number, which was
What did
funny.
that remind you of? It reminded me of Wild Wild West.
Oh, totally.
I was like, oh my god,
Absolutely.
it looks exactly like that Wild Wild West scene.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Here's something that could have been an interesting choice. If in human form, they gave him a little bit more like under eyeliner.
Oh, a little guy
I
liner.
think some guy liner would have worked really well.
Also, I don't love the long goatee on him.
Yeah.
It works for Genie, but
I would have preferred, yeah, if it was just the cherry on top and then maybe like a like more subtle goatee, or would just want like completely shaven?
I don't know, cause I mean, I so Blue Genie, I don't mind the goatee. I don't know why. I think
Mm-hmm.
because the contrast on his face, but like his goatee when he's in human form is like kind of this lightish brown, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's his natural. Like I feel like that's not his natural face,
Mm-hmm.
but that was off to me, and I just don't like. I don't like when he. I don't mind Will with a goatee, but like when it's like that long kind of like
Yes, I
yeah.
agree. If they just kept, because it like doing a really quick zoom in of his face, obviously the like chin hair is prosthetic, but I want to say this looks pretty natural. The
Okay.
like regular
I wonder
part
if
of
they
the
dyed it.
goatee, maybe. Because he could
But
have been graying around this
yeah.
time,
I
so.
also didn't love that his top like knot was like braided. It was
Mm,
very stiff, and I kind of wanted
yeah.
it to be a little more like a
Again,
little
the
more
wigs in this
movement.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a choice. But all that to say, it seems like we enjoyed his portrayal of Genie and thought it
Mm-hmm.
was different and cool enough to pass our 90s kid check.
Mm-hmm.
Any let's
I have a logistical question. And the Sutter Homes might have been talking the first time I saw this because I feel like I would have gotten really emotional when the carpet tore, like during that windstorm and the carpet ripped. Because Magic Carpet is one of my all-time like underrated favorite little side characters. Doesn't say a peep, but shows so much emotion and character. I just
yes.
fucking love that Magic Carpet. Now I didn't drink any Sutter Homes when watching this. This was completely in fact, I had it on in the background. I was grading some stuff when I was watching it, but not
I
enough to
fell
com
asleep a few times, so it's okay.
um but if Genie can't bring anyone back from the dead, how can he reanimate the carpet? Does that insinuate that the carpet's a living being?
I don't think the carpet is a living being. It's just enchanted, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know. That wasn't a big question to me. I mean, it was sad. I was like, damn, they really ripped like that carpet
It
like
wasn't
that.
just a tear, but again, in like the animated movie, Jafar just like brrr, like unravels it and turns it into shreds. But
Yeah,
this one was just more like, oh, like it ripped in half.
yeah.
But not that it was a big question. I was like, it just seems like they're stretching the rules there a little bit.
I mean, he
Also,
stretched the rules a couple times.
well, by like sending Carpet away to go fetch Aladdin into the depths. I'd have to say though, at that moment when Jafar's like, I banish you, that no, that Mena screamed was like so guttural and good.
Yeah.
That felt super believable.
I also didn't remember how he came back. I was like, fuck, how does he get back from that? Like, and then once I saw like what Genie did, it was cool. But like suspension of dis oh fuck, Aladdin's like stuck. Like how and like part of me was like because I think yeah, that's when Jasmine and Jafar were getting married. Or
Yes.
like shortly after that they were.
Yeah.
And so, like, she was eyeing the lamp, and I was like, oh, okay, she's gonna rub it, and her wish is, like, for Aladdin to come back.
Come on in, let me out.
But then Carpet and comes
Yes.
back. But
Yes.
I was like, oh, yeah, why couldn't she? Because Aladdin's three wishes weren't up, and Jafar cut in line and was just like, excuse me, like,
That's right.
trying to be sultan. Like, so I thought, and two, I wonder, like, why didn't Jasmine think to rub it? Wow.
As a woman, she'd been stifling from rubbing it herself. I think.
And you know what's crazy is that you sang Genie in the Bottle, and it took me like I was a couple like maybe 5 years ago for me to realize that song was about sex. And I was like, oh, what? My body's saying let's go, but my heart is saying no.
If you
Okay,
want to be with me,
baby, there's a price to pay.
you gotta
Would you-
rub it the right way, baby.
Hello.
Ay, ay,
Foreplay, bitch.
I also cracked up at, so I agree with this, with the critics' review about the irony of Naomi Scott's song Speechless. I loved the Broadway adaptation again in the DCA show because it was like a bird trapped in like a gilded cage or something like that. It was a different song. I liked Speechless. It was a very powerful song, but she sang it to like no one essentially, or it was like all in her head. But I was cracking up because it's like the guards are carrying her out. This is before she like turns back around to be like, Hakeem, remember who you are, blah blah blah. So I'm like, so if the guards are like carrying her, you know, they're like holding on to her arms, and she's like, I won't be silenced. Do you think the guards are just looking at each other like, oh, shut up?
They're like,
Here she
she's
goes
finally
again.
broke. Like,
Either that, or like, you know, in the song, she's like, you know, weaving around, touching people, and they like disappear or whatever. But that insinuates that that's not really happening, and not actually there. So that whole song was silent. That whole song was in her head.
I was gonna say it's in there.
I had fucking problems with that too.
My problem with that song, I don't like ballads. If you have listened to this show enough, then you know that. So that part was like snooze fest to me. I like a bop, okay?
Yeah,
Like Friend Like
yeah,
Me is a
totally,
bop.
totally.
Whole New World is a ballad, but hey, it's like an R&B ballad. It's not
Sure.
like
Sure.
so.
It's a duet.
You know, Prince Ali, the one jump ahead of the you know, pops. That song, I was just like, I kind of wanted to fast forward through it.
All right, shut up.
And I feel like too, that's also part of like the non-sassy part of it. Like, I feel like you could have a song with that message, but have it be like a stronger, like sassier song, and that would have also attributed to us feeling like jazz a little soft, like so yeah, I don't know, but not my fave. So you know, did that win Best Original Song for Oscar or nominated or anything? Because
see,
sorry, Alan, but not a hit with that one. That one was a myth. And you didn't have to rewrite a bunch of songs for this movie. So what were we exhausting our writing? Like,
yes.
it was great too when Genie was making Aladdin dance. That was a good.
That was so over the top and silly.
So yeah, went a little over back.
Yeah. It got some Kids' Choice Awards, of course, some People's Choice Awards, some Teen Choice Awards as well, but I am
That
not.
spells no.
Yeah, that's a no for Academy
Those are like
Awards.
the low tier awards.
Yeah.
We'll let the fans choose. We'll give them something to.
It was shortlisted for the Academy Award for Best Original Song.
Well, it kind of sucks that like new adaptations of old songs can't be resub.
Yeah, but I think that Friend Like
there a
Me, A Whole New
performance
World
one?
was already Academy nominated.
Yeah.
So,
Is there a performance Oscar for that?
mm-mm.
I feel like there should be.
Yeah.
That
So
would be
yeah,
cool.
accolades, awards, and nominations. Yeah, it's like Teen Choice, Saturn Awards, People's Choice. No Academy Awards. Speechless, a new original song written for Jasmine, was shortlisted for the Academy Awards for Best Original Song at the 92nd Academy Awards, but was ultimately not nominated.
Well, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I know.
Like, where's the like even Reflections a bop, even though like
Oh,
how do you not?
and the new version also sung by Christina Aguilera. I'm like, I don't know how they could have made that song better, but it was great. The new version added more drums, added more like heart to it. I love the old version of Reflection, but the new version of Reflection, like I will listen to that and get like a choke in my throat.
See, another Disney fuck me up because like, who are you to make me ask these questions? Like, existential crisis. The reason I didn't watch the new Milan yet is because like, there's no "I'll make a man out of you." I was like, what do you mean you're not putting the songs in here?
That is
Like,
true. That's one thing that I missed was the singing, but
it's
I
still
think the
that good.
historical representation of the movie was actually
Okay,
pretty
I'll
good.
have to.
Yeah. The wigs are terrible. Disney
Oh,
does not do wigs very well, I'll tell you that. But the setting and realistic, like in this movie too, I didn't say this yet, that Agrabah was so beautiful and bright. The costumes were amazing. The Prince Ali song was just like fantastic. I
yes.
loved all the practical sets. I can really see where the budget went into this for this movie. That yes, there were CGI tigers and monkeys and genies and stuff, but I felt like it still blended in with the environment and didn't feel really clunky. I loved the
Yeah.
practical sets for this, like the color powders that were being thrown everywhere. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was, and that was all like on a set in London. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
physically anywhere like that actually looked like that. So like, great job to like those set build all the D to that. I will say the palace doesn't hit the same as the animated
Mm-mm.
one. It's a little
It's not as
subdued.
round as nipply. It's lost its boob shape.
I mean, we had that one and the Little Mermaid one, so representation. But yeah, it's like very subdued and not. It didn't stand out kind of in the backdrop of the city that much.
Hmm.
Did you pick up on any of the Disney like little crumbs that they sprinkled in there? Like,
I saw in A Whole New World they flew over Pride Rock.
uh,
And then I didn't. Oh, and then just like some of the lines that stayed true to the original.
okay, so you didn't see like when Aladdin like was trying to show Jasmine where not Agrabah, a Bobwa
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
was on the map, that initially it was just like the Magic Kingdom Fantasy Land, like it was the lands in Disney.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so that one was one that I saw. There's a hidden Mickey somewhere I
Of
have to
course.
rewatch. I didn't see that. She's playing an instrument, I think. And then there is oh, there's a Fresh Prince reference apparently.
Yes.
So the prince that Genie first, like, where he's like, "Oh, you want me to make you a prince?" Like, and he like, this guy's like, "Hey, like, where's my castle and stuff?" He's in like
Hmm.
the pink and green that is
Yes.
like iconically like in Will's promo stuff for Fresh Prince, and so I thought that could be cute if that was intentional. I don't know how intentional that was.
Hmm.
There's another one. Like,
I looked up, there's a hidden Mickey in one of the like stained glass windows behind the genie.
mm,
It was like right, like the circle with the two, like a very classic hidden Mickey, not one that you kind of have to like look at
yeah.
upside down to be like, I guess.
I feel like there was one hint besides. Oh well, go on IMDb, people,
Hmm.
and look at the trivia facts. That's all.
Hmm.
I did find in there was a fact that Gabriel Iglesias was in the running to play Genie, and like, he's funny fluff. But I was like,
Yeah.
I can't see that. I don't
And
see
so was
how.
Jim Carrey. This
Yes,
movie would have been so weirdly different if, thank God,
which
like
is
no offense to Jim
crazy.
Carrey, but it would not have worked at all.
I think that's like, I don't know. I find that really like bizarre to think that way, because Robin Williams, I feel like it's like comedy actor
Yeah.
greats. It's like Robin and Jim, like, and
Hmm.
especially in these like characterizations of people. And so, or character. And so to think like, oh, Jim Carrey, like,
Yeah.
and like the Grinch, the Riddler, like, but to be like Will Smith, way better Genie.
Yeah.
My mind.
In what world?
Yeah. Like, could Will do the Grinch? No.
No.
Maybe. I don't know. That's very questionable to me, but it's so interesting that like, we're just like, Jim Carrey, whoo, dodged that one. Like, I don't know what his Genie would have been like. I think that's the thing too,
Yeah.
because he's so like out there. Comes.
I think it would be a lot more flamboyant because that I'm thinking of like Ace Ventura, when nature calls, never had a friend like me. Like, it would be very over the
I feel
top.
like he would have been like really snarky, you know.
Really? Like that?
Kind of, yeah. And very like slinky, like.
Because
Could
he's
you
so
imagine,
thin, right?
like CGI buff Jim Carrey?
Ew, no, I hate that. That's cursed. Get that out of my head.
I hope somebody makes a render of that, like buff poo. Like,
Ew! No, not buff poo. I
oh
can't.
my god!
The clap of my ass has alerted me.
Oh bother!
Oh, mother. Oh my god, I'm gonna pee my pants.
You're welcome. All right. Well, as much as like we enjoyed this, and I feel like we could kind of talk about this just because it's Disney the whole time. I think it is time we have done Aladdin superb justice, just like Will did the Genie justice. So
yes. What's your snack and cocktail for this?
Oh, I'm going Disneyland here. Okay.
Okay.
So I need a souvenir cup that looks like the lamp. Why have they not made that?
Yeah.
Or a gravy boat?
And but you have to. Hold on, I'm gonna close my water bottle. So you have to drink it like this, right? Like it's like a lamp. And you're like pouring the water.
No, there's a straw. There's always a straw. No matter how absurd the cup is, I could be drinking. I have a Mickey Mouse birthday one, and it's like his whole fucking body. There's a straw. Like.
Okay.
But yes, so I need a Genie lamp cup, and it's definitely gotta be some kind of blue drink.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with some dry ice and a glow cube.
I love that.
I would say, what's my base? I would go rum flavored, maybe. I feel like that's fitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then food-wise, there's nothing in Disneyland that evokes Aladdin food.
Yeah, I mean, at least not anymore because that damn Oasis restaurant's gone.
But food-wise, I'm gonna get kebabs. Like,
nice little street meat kebab.
Yeah, I'm eating my kebab, drinking out of my sipper, and Aladdin's jumping around. And I'm like, oh wow, look at that kid.
He's on X Games mode.
See, they could have had Aladdin like Spider-Man in Marvel Campus.
Oh my god, missed opportunity.
Could you imagine?
Yes. To have it look like the 1992 Sega video game.
There is allegedly some moves from the video game in the movie when he's jumped. So that's another thing. Gotta pay attention for again. But okay, yeah. Those are my things. Kebab, Genie.
Okay. My drink is also Genie inspired, but it's a Genie martini. There's a time in the movie when it was after that like dance sequence, that like festival that they had where they're relaxing in the palace, and the Genie kicks off with a little evening martini, and there's 3 olives in there, and I'm like, I love that. I don't know if that was intentional because Genie rhymes with martini or what, but I'm sticking with it, and I love that. I would probably martinis are straight up just like vodka with olives, and I think that would be impossible for me to drink.
Unless I would do gin.
I would do
vermouth.
Yes. I would do a gin martini with some like mint or maybe some like mint syrup, simple syrup in there to make it a little sweet, and also go with that like Moroccan inspired flavor profile.
I really want to try a dirty. I feel like
that's olive juice and vodka, right?
And like stuffed olives, like olives with
like blue cheese.
But I just want to try it because the Housewives of New York always.
Oh, it is a bitch's drink for sure. And when I say bitches, like I mean the bitches. Like that is a rich housewife drink, 100%. For snack, I'm going baklava. About a little more baklava.
That's also for the nostalgic people out there. This is making me want to finally get the Aladdin lunchbox that like I every so often would look
the plastic
at on eBay.
one.
Yes, the blue one, and it has like the cave and all the gold and stuff.
That was a good lunchbox.
I was this close to getting it when I got my goosebump, but trying to search. It's probably like way more expensive on eBay now.
Mm.
It's like $70. So that's what I'm gonna do after this. And after me and Bruce sip.
Let's wrap it up.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode, and to the people who've stuck with us so far, please come back for another episode of the Agrabah version of Inside the Actor Studio. Are we really here? Are we not? Did we make it up?
But seriously, if you like us enough to stick around, take another deep dive down the Cave of Wonders and follow us as we discuss Will Smith in the 2019 sci-fi action film Gemini Man.
Yes, and on that note, if you've got nothing better to do, go figure out a theme to watch a bunch of movies you've never seen, like maybe the 92 version of it.
Fucking do it. If you haven't done it, you're dead to me. I'm your host, Simone. Subscribe to This Bless and Less. Leave us a like if you are into it. It is free to write a review on wherever you can find this podcast, and it would be awesome if you could take some time to do that.
If you listened to the episode where we bitched about someone's terrible review, update. That person told me that they were just drunk, and if I'd like them to rewrite it, and I'll also leave a review for them. Hell to the no.
I saw that screenshot conversation. That is such a bullshit excuse.
Right. Oh, I must have been drunk. I don't review podcasts when I'm drunk. Like, what kind of drunk activity is that?
That's so weird.
Terrible. So curse on you and your family and your family's family.
You're just embarrassed because you were called out on your fuckery and small dick energy bullshit.
But anyways, on that note, I'm your host, Bria, and it would be awesome for you to wipe off those buttery popcorn fingers and give us a review. Follow us at Roll Call Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Listen to us on YouTube. And be kind. If you don't have anything else to say, just be like, well, sorry I wasted my time and gonna go enjoy something I do.
Sure.
Don't waste your time being kind.
Don't waste your time on being unkind. Leave some actual advice. Fuck
I'm
you,
already
fuck you.
unkind inside my head. We're our worst critics, so there's nothing you could have said that would have been worse than what I already think about this show. So. And that's not because I think our show sucks, but just like, you preemptively are like, this is the worst possible thing someone could say about this. Sure. So you're not shocked.
Yeah.
You're not hiding. But anyways, and this has been an episode of
You ain't never had a pod, never had a pod. You ain't never had a pod, never had a pod. You ain't never had a pod like me. Ain't never had a pod like me. Huh.
And cut.